All right, welcome to Your Time, Your Money, the show where your time is just as valuable as your money, and we know that. Have a great session for you today. It's going to be a little shorter. We're going to address one topic that we get a lot of questions on, and that is what if I miss my RMD, my required minimum distribution, in a year where I was supposed to take it? So the answer is, can be a little different for everybody, but ultimately that RMD has to come out by December 31st of each year. The date when those RMD starts is different for everybody based on when you were born, but for most people now it falls to the age of 73. So if you haven't taken your required minimum distribution, first and foremost, you want to take it as soon as possible. As soon as you identify that you didn't take it for whatever reason, you want to take it as soon as possible. But within that, we have to understand what happens if you don't from the IRS standpoint. So the Secure Act 2.0 changed the tax penalty, that your excise tax that you're assessed on your distribution that wasn't taken. They changed it from 50% down to 25%. So that actually lowered the penalty and can be as low as 10% if it's taken within the next 2 years. However, you can also file a Form 5329 with the IRS, and you can request through that form a waiver of that excise tax. So it's not the worst thing if you do miss your RMD, but you obviously don't want to have to do this every year. But if you did, you can file 5329. You can take the distribution out. I wouldn't pay the excise tax until you get a notification from the IRS whether they waived it or not. And that waiver is going to be based on the reasons behind you missing the required minimum distribution for the year. So for instance, let's say there was a problem at the financial institution. Let's say maybe a security wasn't sold in time, or it didn't clear, and it didn't send the required minimum distribution out that should have. Then maybe you can have the investment company write a letter saying that there was a clerical error, and that may be a reason that the IRS looks at it and waives it. And there's a ton of other, we're not going to get into all those in detail, but you should request the waiver. And if they grant the waiver, then you don't have a penalty on it. You just have to pay your normal taxes on that required minimum distribution. So it's not the end of the world. But yeah, so you definitely want to request a waiver. You want to pay the income tax on it and wait to see whether they grant the waiver to pay the excise tax. And then the other thing is if it's an inherited IRA and you are a non-spouse, you technically, that RMD is over a 10-year period, meaning you have to take all the money out of that account within 10 years. So if you didn't necessarily take one out this year or the prior year, now you have 8 years that you have to take that total amount. So it is a required minimum distribution, but you do have a 10-year window. And if you haven't taken any of it and it's been 10 years, and this is in the future since the law's changed, if you haven't taken any of it and it's in the 10 years, then you're probably going to want to talk to a CPA about that, because it should have been taken out over those 10 years. So hopefully this answers your question on what to do if a required minimum distribution is missed. If you would like to find out more information about your RMD, some different suggestions as far as what you could do with your RMD and enhance your investment portfolio, you can reach out to us at Iron Tree Financial at 43 British American Boulevard in Latham, New York 12110, or at 844-444-YTYM. As always, it's your time and your money. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Your Time, Your Money. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to share this with friends, family, coworkers, anyone else that you think might be interested. If you do have questions or topics, you can always email them to irontreefinancial@ceterais.com. Please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Spotify, Google Play, and many other sources that were available. And you can reach us at 844-444-YTYM. And as always, it's your time and your money.